my parents even like me, bro? Okay, so my mom does this thing where she keeps baby talking and it goes on for like 6 years. She also holds her hands into fists and shakes them like a kid would. We were in the car yesterday and my dad was going the normal speed you go on a highway and she started acting. There is a 0% chance that these were real emotions. Like she was scared and plugged her ears and shut her eyes or stared or something. She also just behaves oddly. Like whenever I tell her something she's doing is embarrassing me or annoying me, she always does it even more or for longer. This is by far her most confusing behavior. For example, the other day, I had the worst headache ever. I was at school the entire day for an honors program, and when we were in the car, my dad stepped out to buy something. She started talking to herself, which I normally don't care about since she does that all the time. But when I asked her to stop because of my headache, multiple times, she ignored me and kept doing it, like she always does, saying literally anything at that point. I also fear she simply just doesn't like me. Like, I would just be sitting on my phone and she would complain to my dad about how I'm on my phone 24 hours a day. It's a summer break. Then he would get pissed at me, or I could take a small dish outside of the kitchen or use her computer for a minute, and she would tell my dad about it, resulting in the most disgusting, insufferable argument possible about how I never listen and I have zero respect for them because my room isn't clean. Okay, I'm a teenager. I don't want to stay at home every second of the day while everyone is out with their families or with friends. I keep nagging at my parents to go out, but they never want to leave the house and they don't let me go out 2 days in a row. Then it turns out into a fight about how I just suck and I don't listen when I haven't even done anything at all. And then my dad says I cannot leave the house, and I hear the same sentence I hear almost every single day. You don't need to have friends. Then all of this disappears whenever my dad decides he feels bad. And my mom suddenly loves me, and we're at the restaurant once in a blue moon, and she starts huddling me up and baby talking to me. And the second we go home and I attempt to have a casual conversation with her, she cannot even stand me. My older brother is her favorite. He's rude to me most of the time, but it's probably just sibling fights. Whenever I answer back to him, my mom looks at me like I'm psychotic. Whenever I talk about something he does that just is not normal, they both talk over me and my mom says, "Don't listen to her." And they ignore me and just have a whole conversation. Earlier today, I only asked my mom if she was going to teach my class soon. My mom complained loudly, and my dad flipped out on me and just told me not to talk. I was at school since 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the honors program. I just came home. My parents know I would do anything to go out, even for a ride in the car, since they literally do not leave the house. They went out, and when I asked when they were going, they said I couldn't come and left. When they came home, my dad took my phone away. Said I don't listen, I don't respect them, and that I cannot use my phone or leave the house unless it's for school. They were probably pissed about the school thing because I complained about my parents not letting me move schools, and they told me not to bring it up anymore and that it's not up to me, but I didn't even mention moving. Oh, what would happen to me if my mom knew I was using her computer to type this at 1 a.m.? Or am I actually the problem? This is a super sad story, and I looked through the comments, and OP says that she's not looking to move away from the parents because she feels financially safe there, so she will just wait up for 2 years and then move away for college. Also, OP said that she's from the country where police would not help her, so I guess calling CPS is not an option here. The parents are obviously mistreating her, maybe physically, but mentally 100%. But just a general question, is OP's mom okay? Because she's not acting normal. And since it started only 6 years ago, I just wonder, maybe something happened. Maybe there are some kind of health problems there. because it really does look like a Grey's Anatomy episode where somebody has a brain tumor and all of a sudden they act super weird and differently than usual. I don't know. What do you guys think? Please like the video and subscribe to the channel because I really want to get to 200 subscribers as soon as possible. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. Mother and her loud child. So my family and I went to Chico State Park for 2 days, overnight camp, for a family reunion. There are 2 cabins for boy family members and girl family members. This mom made her 2 6-year-old boys sleep in the girls' cabin, which is fine. But the children would not stop screaming. And I get it, they're children. But this screaming and constant talking and climbing up people's beds to bother them happened all night and all day. And the mom did not try to stop them at all. Eventually, after a sleepless night, the kids were still screaming and being rowdy in the morning, so I said very calmly, "Dude, chill out." The mother glared at me and said, "Really? Are you effing serious? He's just talking." It's not even like I'm an adult or a mother, so she couldn't have taken it as me judging her. I'm a teenager. I was very mad at this mom, but alas, I was the one who apologized. Sometimes there are battles that are not worth fighting. And battles with stupid people are usually that kind of battle. Because you would never win an argument with an idiot. Also, 6 years old, it's not that young. Why would they stay in the girls' cabin with their mommy? Left restaurant today. I had to ask the restaurant my husband and I went to tonight to make our orders to go, thanks to an entitled parent. We went to one of our local restaurants. There was family of 6, 4 kids under 5. They were being typical kids, laughing or giggling, which is fine. One started screaming a lot, and there was zero correction or response from either parent. One of the kids then proceeded to start hitting her plate repeatedly, non-stop with a spoon. Still, zero response from the parents. As my husband is currently having some sensory issues, I went up to their counter and asked for everything to be to go. She asked if something was wrong, and I said yes, unfortunately. They are just too much for us. The mother proceeds to tell me she's only 3, and it was a bit of an altercation. Apparently, because it's a restaurant, they're allowed to be as loud as they want to be. I should know this is not like a McDonald's where this would be appropriate. Kids are hard, but it's really awful when you just want to have a nice meal but can't, because people think their kids can do anything, anywhere with zero consideration for others. But why would it be appropriate in McDonald's? Are people who go to McDonald's inferior or what? I may not be able to discipline your child, but I can redirect the energy. Yesterday was a rough day for me at the gym. Deadlifts are a wonderful exercise, make no mistake, but the last thing you want to do after completing a set of deadlifts is smile or move. So, rather than my usual plan of swim a few laps in the pool, I floated around a little in the leisure pool at my gym. Moved from one spot to another, trying to steer clear of children, doing what children do in the pool. Things like screaming, throwing toys around, swimming around without looking where they're going, effectively turning leisure swim into a snaking mission. I was rather successful at this, right up until a boy who appeared to be around 7 or 8 years old decided to spike a beach ball into the back of my head. Wasn't a huge one or very heavy, little damage on my end. I figure out it might have been a mistake, so I reclaim the beach ball and give it to the boy who had thrown it at me. Less than a minute later, I get doinked again, so I reclaim the ball and ask the kid nicely to stop throwing stuff at me. He nods and grins, and I go back to what I was doing. 3 guesses what happened next. If you needed more than one to assume the boy spiked that ball on the back of my head for the 3rd time, see me after class. So, after strike 3, I grabbed the ball and asked the kid where mom was. Mom, as it turns out, was reading a book on a lounge chair poolside. Please note this place has an excessive number of lifeguards, not as negligent as it would be at a hotel pool. So I dragged the child and his ball up to mom and explained that the kid has binned me with a beach ball 3 times and that's kinda not cool. Mom decided to do the hat toss someone does where they are rolling their eyes behind huge sunglasses and said something in the effect of, "It's a beach ball. Boys will be boys." I tossed the ball onto mom's legs and get back into the pool, keeping an eye out for the kid. A few minutes later, I heard muffled giggling behind me, and then I felt the soothing sensation of a beach ball to the back of my head for the 4th time. I reclaimed the ball yet again and intended on making eye contact with the kid and popping their ball right in front of them. But then the bad idea fairy wrapped me sharply with their magic wand, and I had an evil grin, not unlike the grin the kid gave me after strike number 1. So I tell the kid to come here, I want to show you something. And then I submerge the ball under the water and pinch the air nozzle, which makes air bubbles shoot out. Happens to look exactly like someone was tooting underwater. He's not strong enough to submerge the air-filled ball, so I tell him to get on top of it and use his body weight to sink the ball. He managed to do that, and his face lit up like it was Christmas morning and he'd gotten everything he had asked for. He promptly swam off and found other people to annoy. I didn't get a ball thrown at me, and the kid's mom was pissed that she had to blow up the beach ball again. Was actually asking her son how it went flat so fast when it was a brand new beach ball, in between big gasps of breath trying to fill the ball up. Kid just points at me. On my way to the locker room, I wave and say, "Oh, boys will be boys." I really like this story, and it is a really funny one. It's a good one. But at the moment when OP said, "Oh, little boy, come here, I will show you something in the pool," I was like, ooh, are we in that kind of post that I will not be able to read here? But no, everything is PG, thank God. And also, reinflating the ball is such a small price for the mom to pay for her kid to be happy and do not annoy anyone. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because I really want to get to 200 subscribers as soon as possible. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. Landlord put me through 3 years of heck. My landlord was a terrible human being, honestly. Calling him a human is even pushing it. Just a few things he has done to me over the past 3 years. Stole my dryer and other household products that are in the common area. Made me pay for a plumbing repair which was deemed normal wear and tear. Tried breaking into my house. Retaliated against me because I went to my lawyer after he sent me a letter about a parking spot. He tried charging me an extra $150 per month. Mind you, I was never late for rent in 3 years, except for when he made me pay for the plumbing repair, so the next month I was a couple days late. The list goes on. Now this apartment was nowhere near nice. I found out the plumbing was illegal. He left me with a porch for years that was severe safety issues. The ceiling paint was always falling down, gas heater was not up to code, and so on. I finally got my chance to leave after he wanted to raise my rent by $500 per month. He will do anything and everything to get more money out of his tenants. So I called the building inspector 4 days before I left. I told him everything. The porch, when he finally replaced it, didn't have a permit and was definitely not up to code. I told him about the plumbing and the heater. I went on and on. The inspector came over the very next day. I saw him taking measurements. Each violation is a $500 per day fine until fixed. I honestly don't know what happened, but my God, did it feel good to finally get him back. He is, at the very least, on the town's radar. A week before I moved out, he tried telling me I needed to be out at a specific time. I never responded, and where I lived, that's not how it works. He tried to threaten me with the police if I wasn't gone. Well, I went to the police myself that morning to warn them. The landlord did come by, threaten me and harass me. I called the police, They informed him I was in the right. Long story short, he had broken into my apartment when I had left to go to storage. He nailed my door shut. I told the police to get the supervisor because I was over being harassed by this guy. Go figure, he left before the supervisor could get there. I'm positive he knew he'd be arrested on sight. Got the police report. They are charging him with a felony for breaking and entering. Fines plus a charge? Don't be a jerk to good people. I just wonder if OP let it slip, if the landlord would then charge the OP for damaging the doors while nailing it close. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because I really want to get to 200 subscribers as soon as possible. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. Got rude guy arrested for suspended license. This story takes place about 20 years ago. In the mid-2000s, my friends and I would frequent a small billiards place in a neighboring town, where you could rent a table by the hour or play per game. We'd play a few games, watch whatever sports were on TV, and have casual conversations. There were no problems and no drama until 3 months of us visiting this place. A guy shows up and takes our spot at the billiards table. No big deal. We are all chatting anyway. 20 minutes later, my friend lets him know we want to play the next game, and the jerk is super dismissive. Needless to say, we didn't get in during the next game, so I politely let him know we wanted to play next. Another lady chimed in she wanted the game after us. The guy blatantly ignored me and the other woman. Some more time going by and the guy leave the table. So we see our chance to get in. We put the quarters in and the balls are disposed, except the green 6 ball. The guy took it to the bathroom with him. At this point, it was ridiculous and we notified the manager. The manager noted it was 12:30 and they were going to be calling the last call and closing, so he didn't want to make a scene by kicking him out. He gets us another ball so we can play. The guy comes out of the bathroom and knows we realized what he did. He smirks and proceeds to the patio to have a cigarette, bringing along his beer and the green billiard ball. The guy comes back in and tossed the ball he was holding onto the table, hitting a few balls on the table and messing up our game. He goes up to the ball just in time for last call. One of the friends I was with suggested we follow him home and each call the highway patrol to report a suspected drunk driver. 3 or 4 of us agree. So when he leaves, we used our trusty Nextel push-to-talk phones and coordinated several calls to the police. We provided details like license plate, vehicle make and model and color, and mentioned the car nearly hit another vehicle, was swerving between lines, and driving erratically. This was under a 15-minute plan. We had no idea where the guy lived, but suspected it was close, as he was visiting a neighborhood place, so our time was limited. The one guy who didn't notify the police tailed the jerk and called us giddy when a police officer pulled between him and the guy and turned in his lights to pull him over. The police blotter that week included an arrest of the guy who was pulled over after multiple calls of erratic driving. He wasn't arrested for a DUI, but instead for driving on a suspended license. Hey, I don't understand these people. If you're being jerked to everyone, you at least have to be super clean in the face of the law. Because if you're being jerked to other people and then you break the law, of course people will report you. Why do you even have doubts in that? My landlord got not exactly what he deserved, but it sure was a rough ride for him. I had a landlord who was pretty absent. I lived in this building, a high-rise like 20 stories, for 10 plus years. He, despite living next to me, was absent and called personally, but cool enough. Rent was good. Our agreement was never bother him about anything unless it's an absolute emergency. Shower head wonky? Gotta buy a new one. Fridge breaks? Get it fixed. Or dude, just buy a new one. Take it out of what you pay in the rent. Lost the receipt? I don't care. I know more or less what a fridge costs. Just take it out of rent. Finally, his wife decides she wants more rent. Wants to rent the place out as an office, which is not legal. And wants us out ASAP. I agreed to move out a month early and get a month's rent back, plus deposit. Complete 180 on their part. The place is ruined. We can't give you anything until you fix all this stuff. Two main things. My cats did scratch up the leather legs of the dining table, and the pull-up bar made 2 dents in the door frame of the kitchen, which was quite nice hardwood. They come to me with this list of tons of stuff like, oh, you hang a photo frame here, this tile is slightly chipped. This is the busiest work time of the year for me, but I'm trying to be cooperative. Sure, I got the table legs re-leathered, speckled the photo frame wall hole. I couldn't do anything about the door frame. Take it out of the deposit. I patched the tile, like dozens of little everyday wear and tear things. Like you want me to change the window screens? These are all new screens and in nicer shape than when I moved in. But I did them all. I trusted the guy. Gotta get my money. At the end, he should have given me 24k RMB, which is roughly $3,000. He gave me 5. I still need to use the money to fix all that stuff. If you can't accept the 5, I can't give you anything at all. I was super pissed off, but took the 5. Now, people in the building are gossipy. I don't participate, but I did tell this one older lady about my frustration. She told everyone. The wife went from being the star of the mommies group of the building to nobody wanted to talk to her. People shunned the guy too. I originally told them I was planning on moving to another city, but an opportunity came up and I ended up renting a similar unit in the same building. So they thought they could just screw me over and not have to see me, but now they still did. Often. A year later, the office calls me with some question about how to do something with the floor heating. I go, door frame is not fixed, still has dents. I call the guy like, what the heck, man? And he tells me to mind my own business. 5 years later, I see the light at my old place is still on at 3 a.m. Huh? That's odd. I go to check, the door is open, and the place is just trashed, ruined. Cabinets broken, lazy landlord is written on the walls, and the dents on the kitchen door frame are still there. So the guy never fixed anything, just kept my money. By this time, smartphones were popular, and we had a chat group for the whole building, so about 500 people. I took pictures and posted everything. Apparently, he had also nicked these people's deposit, and there was a huge ruckus when they trashed the place. Cops got called, all these people chime in with complaints and pictures, people smoking in the hallways, leaving leaky rubbish outside the front door, videos of people using foul language in front of children, dirty footprints. He got fined a lot for creating public disturbance, degrading the quality of the living space, illegally renting a residence as an office, and to top it all off, building management wouldn't grant him permission to have workers in to fix the place. So it there empty for like 6 months. The fines were big too. So you take 1.5 months rent from me, lose a year's rent. Suck it, bro. Damn, I just wonder, will there be a day when we get a wholesome, kind story about a really nice landlord? Because it seems like they're made on some factory of evil landlords. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because I really want to get to 200 subscribers as soon as possible. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. My lovely entitled grandmother. This has been going for all 18 years that I've been alive, but was happening before I even existed as well. Some of this stuff in here definitely feels like stuff Reddit would absolutely love, so I thought I'd finally share it somewhere. Here's a list of some of the things my entitled grandmother, my father's mother, has done since I was born. Basically asked for joint custody of me. I'm not kidding. When I was an infant or toddler, she seriously asked my parents if I could spend 2-3 days at her house weekly, and then every other weekend spend the entire weekend sleeping over at her house as well. Also, she thought my mom breastfeeding me was hogging me. She didn't like clothes my mother bought for me, so she would buy clothes herself, cut tags off, and wash them, and hide them in my closet. That was in my house. She would also do this if she didn't like stuff my parents owned. She'd go out and buy stuff and just stick it in our kitchen drawers. When my mom started making an effort to get us out of the house more so she couldn't randomly stop by to visit so often, she started spying on the calendar we had in our house, and Dad would instead randomly stop by at the events we'd be out at. When I was a bit older but still needed babysitting for the summer, she would come over still in pajamas claiming she hadn't time to get ready. So then I'd have to go spend the day at her house instead so she could get dressed. Luckily, this stopped when poor innocent me went, "Actually, Grandma, I'm allowed to stay home alone now, so you just go get dressed and I will wait here." I've been the artist of the family since I was a kid. She'd constantly ask me to draw her stuff. But then, if she didn't like what I drew, she'd try to jokingly steal another drawing that I'd have made for myself instead. This never went well, lol. When I was like 13 and she was over, she proceeded to say, "Baby cakes, come sit on my lap," where she was on the couch. Again, I was 13 and way beyond the age of sitting on people's laps. She thinks my mother brainwashed me into hating her. But what actually happened was Kid Me started noticing how weird she acted compared to my other grandma, and when I asked my mother about it, my mother basically said, "Yeah, she's crazy." And I had no trouble believing her. Ongoing issues now. I cannot tell her about anything I'm remotely interested in because she latched onto it and tried to use it as some way to get me to spend more time with her. Most of you would probably think, why not just spend time with her? But after everything else on this list, I honestly just don't like being around her a lot. One of the reasons she got a phone was for the purpose of texting me in particular, and to these days still pouty that it did not work in getting me to talk to her more. Also, when I didn't reply to her weird texts, she'd call up my father and whine to him about how I never talked to her, and then he'd get mad at me over it. This also never went well. She's the reason why I hate all of the pet names: baby, baby cakes, babes, my sweet, sweetie, etc. Because to this day, me now being 18, she's the only person in my whole family who calls me these names, and it feels like I'm treated like a child. Her newest scheme is that she thinks if she can get me alone with her, my mother won't be able to brainwash me into hating her, and has yet to realize somehow that it has nothing to do with my mother at all and everything to do with how I myself don't actually want to be alone with her. There are more instances, but the list is legit so long. If anyone would want to hear more, I will happily share though. Update for anyone who may see this. She apparently asked my father yesterday if she was coming to my graduation at school. She's had barely anything to do with my high school upbringing, and also I'm only allowed 3 guests, which would obviously be my parents and not other relatives. For clarity, we're already having a family graduation party for me a few days later that she's aware of and is coming to. Also, none of my other relatives have even asked if they'd be coming to the legit graduation, because I'm assuming they rightfully guessed there isn't the space, and also it's for me and my parents more. Anyways, I had to just learn this from my mother though, because apparently my father thought it sounded so ridiculous he didn't even bother mentioning it to me. Also, there will be a part 2, so we have more awesome stories about this lovely lady. When I was first reading this story, my first reaction was to feel sorry for the grandmother, because she feels like a legit lonely person who just wants to spend time with her only granddaughter. But then I remembered my own grandpa, with whom I was extremely close when I was really young, because I really enjoyed spending time with him. We would play some sports, we would go eat out together, I could talk to him. But then, as I grew up, his attitude towards me never really changed. He he still treated me like a baby. And even now, when I am an adult woman, whenever we talk on the phone, he tries to school me, he tries to explain me every way of how my life is wrong and why I should live it the other way. Also, I have a story about my own high school graduation party. We didn't have any limits on the number of the guests who would come with every person graduating from high school, so I had 7 people who came. It was parents, it was my sister, it was my grandpa and grandma. I think my aunt was there too, so it was crazy. I remember I was so embarrassed because most of people had their parents and their siblings. That's it. And there was me with my fabulous group of 7 people. And after the graduation party, all the graduates had like a joint dinner in a restaurant, so it was all of us. And you can also, if you wanted, you could bring some of your guests with you. They would sit separately, but they would still just be a part of the celebration. And all of my other classmates had maybe 7, 10 guests with them who were their parents or siblings or whoever. And you can guess it. I had all 7 of my family members. Again, it was so embarrassing. Oh, this story was legit so long. So come back tomorrow for the next part of this story. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel because I really want to get to 200 subscribers as soon as possible. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. Entitled man debated cost of gas at the pump. I was having a bad day after my bike that I custom built fell out of the back of my truck because I forgot to close the tailgate. It got all messed up and I had to fix it later at home, but it ruined my day. So I just wanted to get gas and go home. Then, while waiting in line at the station, the guy in front of me took absolutely forever. He kept walking away, and when the attendant gave him his change, he just stared at the receipt for a while, then started debating something with the employee, then went over to the office. The guy who was riding with this dude looked very embarrassed and looked at me like he was saying sorry. The driver finally came back, then just muled around the car a bit more before finally getting in. And I think I saw the other guy in the car smack him on the shoulder to get moving. And then he finally did. I asked the attendant what was that about? And the guy was trying to debate the cost of gas and get the employee to give him a discount to try and get some of his money back. It didn't work, so he asked for smaller bills for change instead, which took more time. This guy just didn't give a crap about anyone in line. Also, this was already the cheapest gas station in town. Who the heck needs to debate prices there? Well, apparently this gentleman does. I wonder if he tries to haggle at Costco. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel because I really want to get to 200 subscribers as soon as possible. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. My lovely entitled grandmother part 2. So I got some more stories about this lady from my mom after posting part 1. And since, wow, they're bad, I thought I'd share them too. So when I was a toddler, my parents would tell me to pick out my outfit for the day. Seems like I'm a toddler, so why wouldn't they? And whenever this lady came over, she'd actually force me to change into an outfit she liked better, even if I told her I didn't want to. Again, grandma is arguing with a 2-year-old here about clothes, like WTF? The worst of these stories, this lady also loved brushing my hair as a toddler apparently. When I was a kid, I had really curly hair, and for those who may not know it, you should never brush out curly hair. This lady would brush my hair so much it would hurt, and I would ask her to stop. My mom started taking our brush to work with her, so this lady couldn't get it. So then she bought her own to bring instead. Apparently, one day my mom came home to my grandma looking annoyed, and my grandma told her something along the lines of me having been bratty or something. My mom goes upstairs to find, again, 2-year-old me crying in my closet. because I would ask Grandma to stop brushing my hair, and she wouldn't, so I ran and hid from her in my effing closet. This lady made a toddler cry because she wanted to brush my damn hair. Yes, my mother had a lengthy talk with her after this one. Now to other things that have happened since the first post. I had my family grad party on Sunday, and her and my grandpa got to the restaurant before the rest of us. There was an uneven number of us, so the table had the extra seat right at the end, so head of the table. She decided she would position herself and my grandpa right next to the head of the table chair, with the assumption that I would sit there and therefore sit right next to her all night. Like, yes, lady, I definitely would rather sit next to you than, I don't know, my own damn parents? Or perhaps my younger cousins that I sit with at every family outing? When I informed her that, lol, no way I was sitting at the head of the table and would, again, much rather sit with my parents and cousins, she actually seemed offended. For the next story, I first need to explain how she does gift giving. So usually for holidays, birthdays, you would get someone something they either directly asked for or something you just know would cater to their interests. No, this lady gets you something that she wants to give you, which 90% of the time means something that caters to her interests or style, and is something you yourself would probably never want in your life. In fact, when it was explained to her by my mother and the rest of the family that we usually get gifts the person actually asked for, she was offended and so that made us entitled and bossy. Anyways, now the story. For my graduation, she got me this painting made by her friend with some inspirational quote on it, as well as a whale and a very stylized looking person. I hate to seem ungrateful, but I don't own anything ocean themed whatsoever, and the colors of this painting are incredibly bold and kinda jarring and don't go with anything I own in the slightest. And while there, she's literally saying, yeah, it matches your wall color, so you could just get a nail and go put it up like right now. And the whole time I'm trying to awkwardly smile and deflect her suggestions. Also, I should clarify, the only things on my bedroom walls are my own drawings and a poster of a fat tiger. I don't even have the wall space for this thing. However, it looks exactly like the artwork in her own house. Other examples of the gift giving. My mother hates the color orange. This grandma loves the color orange. This grandma once bought my mother a bright orange bead-covered hippie-looking jacket and actually got offended when my mother kindly refused it. Since this grandma doesn't really know many of interests of mine because I cannot tell her, she will buy me random stuff. The problem is, if you spend legit 5 minutes in my room, it would be really obvious what I like by 4 different crystal collections and rabbit stuffed animals. Now for some context. When I buy crystals, they're often smaller or only slightly larger than a toonie, so like 1 by 1 inches I guess, and often a shade of blue or purple. This lady bought me a massive pink crystal the size of my entire palm. I had to actually move stuff to make space for it on my shelf because I never buy crystals that big. Also for Christmas one year, she bought me and both my parents these creepy nutcrackers. Again, we don't own anything nutcracker related. And again got offended when we didn't add them to our yearly Christmas decor. Also, since a lot of people were asking in the last post, I thought I'd clarify here for those who may not have seen my replies where my dad has been for all of this. Basically, he was her only kid, and since she's a piece of work, most of her side of the family doesn't actually like her. He's nice to her still because he feels obligated as her only kid, and again, because she kinda doesn't have many other people. That side of my family is legit her, my grandpa, and her 100-year-old mother, who is obviously not the best of company. Obviously, he wishes I had a better relationship with her, so he doesn't participate in my mom and I gossiping about her. We don't do it in front of him, but still. But also has kinda given up on trying to get me to like her. and has also stopped going along with her demands of making me call her or talk to her more. I think he actually told her at one point something along the lines of this being her own bed that she made, so she shouldn't complain about laying in it. Hopefully, I will not make a part 3, lol. Well, I guess we all hope that you will not have to make the part 3, but if you do, we are really looking forward to it. And the more I read this story, it more again reminded me of my own grandpa, even the painting thing. He loves paintings. He has a lot of artist friends who give him paintings, or he commissions paintings from them. So his whole flat is this kind of art gallery, and he loves giving paintings. And legit, the only paintings my parents have in their house is what he gave them. And it was usually just some kind of small landscapey stuff, but once he overdid himself. I don't remember what was the occasion, I think someone's birthday, but he brought a huge painting of a pine forest of all things that really took up the whole wall. It was the whole ordeal how he brought it to our house. I think he rented like a semi-truck or something. And we didn't have space for it. Because, who has space for such a big painting? So my parents just brought it to the attic. I think it's still there. So if any of you guys want a giant painting of pine forest, let me know. I can hit you up. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because I really want to get to 200 subscribers as soon as possible. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. So one day in the wild at Wendy's. Our family just got back to the US from the cruise and had to drive from Florida back home to Tennessee. We made a quick stop at Wendy's for dinner to power through the last 2 hours of our drive home. We are patiently waiting for our food, and in comes this angry man yelling that they made 2 of his sandwiches wrong. He is shouting on about how his wife had ordered 2 junior bacon cheeseburgers, and they gave him 2 junior cheeseburgers, no bacon. The manager calmly explained that the woman had in fact ordered 2 junior cheeseburgers, no bacon, and pulled up the transaction to show this. Then professionally stated they wouldn't remake an order because the customer incorrectly ordered their food, but it would be $2.33 per burger if he wanted the junior bacon cheeseburgers. The man started raging and threw the burgers at another employee. The manager promptly told him to knock it off because that's a child. The employee was a teenager, and that you don't throw food at children. My children and husband witnessed everything as well, and my very blunt and direct 5-year-old said, "We don't throw food at anyone." As a mom that didn't want in this confrontation, I was like, shh. The man then demanded a refund, which she gave him. But heck, I cannot believe what I witnessed over 2 Wendy's burgers that his wife ordered wrong. It really seems like fast food chain restaurants really call crazy people to its warm embrace. Malicious compliance with the law. This is a story from my first job as a paperboy at 13. Even at a young age, I was always a bit of a nightmare to manage. As soon as there was any show of any unfair treatment, I have always made it my mission to know all the regulations and work only within them. If an employer shows no flexibility to me, they sure as heck aren't getting any back from me. On to the story. It was a great first job. My round started just around the corner from my house, and a small loop left my last delivery 3 doors down from my home. There were usually no complaints about time. I used to show up just after 7, pack my bags, and all the papers were delivered by 7:45, even on the busiest days. We had a new manager start at the shop, and apparently there were some people complaining that their papers were not delivered early enough. We were told we had to be in the shop for 6:30 going forwards. In the UK, there are regulations on when a child is allowed to work, and given this new change and how it was a deterrent to my life, I started to research to see if anything could be done. I found out two things. Firstly, minors could not work before 7 a.m. And secondly, you could not deduct money from wages for mistakes, something that was happening regularly every time there was a customer complaint. And with this information, I told the manager that what he was proposing and his current way of running the deliveries was illegal, and he needed to come up with a better plan. I am not sure he liked being told this by a 13-year-old, so he fired me immediately. The news agency in question was a national chain, so I wrote to their head office detailing the situation and what I intended to do next. I stated that they were not following child labor laws and I would report to the relevant agency. I pointed out it wasn't a great look that when this was brought to their attention, I was fired and nothing changed. I stated that I intended to raise a legal claim for unfair dismissal based on the nature of my dismissal. I also gave them notice of my intent to go to the press to see if they felt there was a story to a national brand ignoring child labor laws and dismissing someone who brought that to their attention. I asked for a response in 30 days, or I would start to make the appropriate arrangements. Well, it took 2 weeks before I was asked to come into a meeting with my ex-branch manager and his boss. I took my dad as a witness, but he encouraged me to lead the meeting. There was some backpedaling. They stated they had made changes. We were now expected in at 6:45 to do the sorting before going on our deliveries at 7 o'clock. They had given everyone a pay raise and a bonus which would be paid weekly if no mistakes were made. They offered me my job back. I refused. I told them while the pay situation seemed fair, they were still asking people to come in before 7 a.m. and this was against the law. I stated if they didn't want me to take this further, they needed us to be there at 7 a.m. and they could get our bags ready for delivery, or we could be there at 7 and be out for delivery at 7:15. The choice was theirs, but their interpretation of the law was wrong, and I wouldn't back down on my actions unless changes were made. They agreed to my points, and then, as a part of my job be reoffered, there was a confidentiality clause. I stated I was not comfortable with this, and if this was to buy my silence from approaching the press, there would be a cost attached to it. In the end, I got my job back. 20% raise for everyone working the same job and a weekly bonus on top, a strict 7 a.m. start time, and to top it all off, £500 to sign the confidentiality clause. Moral of the story, make sure whoever you're trying to F over isn't a petty little poop who is willing to put more time and effort into ruining you than he is at school. Oh, this story is very satisfying. I suppose OP could become a great lawyer with this kind of mindset. Also, the fact that they made 13-year-olds sign a confidentiality clause is super weird. I don't think 13-year-old can sign this kind of documents for them to be illegal. I think OP's father had to sign it as well. Well, maybe OP could come back to them for a bigger sum of money, otherwise he would still go to the newspapers. Ooh, that would be so cool. If he would go to press, they would make this big piece about unfair child employment, and then these children would deliver this paper. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because I really want to get to 200 subscribers as soon as possible. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. Want me to take all my stuff and leave? No problem. This was a couple months ago back in May. I had been living in an apartment with 3 other roommates, so 4 of us in total, for about 8 months. We are all women in our 20s. I barely interacted with my other roommates at all. Just between our jobs and classes, we never saw each other. We all had our own rooms as well. For some context, on May 5th, my fiancé and I were planning to move into a new apartment together. So by the evening of the 4th, I had just about all of my belongings packed up. More on that later. Though I barely interacted with my roommates, I felt like we coexisted well and we never fought or argued about anything, except for some very minor instances with Vicky and Kara. Those two were friends, and Vicky was definitely the messiest of four of us living there. She would leave her clothes in the dryer for days, pile dishes in the sink for more than a week before cleaning them, and often forget food in the fridge until it would rot. Maybe 5 times throughout my time living there, I would get a text in our group chat from Kara saying something like, "Hey OP, I talked to the others and they said the dishes in the sink are in theirs, so please clean them." This was annoying, but it happened infrequently enough, so it wasn't awful, and I figured Vicky lied to Kara about messes since it was just easier to throw me under the bus rather than own up to it herself. On the evening of May 4th, so the night before I was planning to move out, Kara sent a very long and scathing text to our group chat. She went on and on about how she's tired of my messes, hates all my stuff strewn about the apartment, and also personally attacked me, calling me disgusting and inconsiderate. Since I was leaving literally the next day, I didn't see any reason to start a fight, so I just said it was her lucky day, and I was actually moving out the next morning. She replied, "Whatever you say, just take all your stuff and leave." Now, the malicious compliance. As I had mentioned earlier, I had packed most of my belongings already, but technically not everything. The four of us all moved into the apartment at about the same date, but I moved in a few days earlier than the others. This means that I had bought a lot of the communal items myself. I was planning to leave this out of kindness despite them being worth around $400. However, once I got that text from Kara, I decided I would in fact take all of my stuff and leave. These communal items included all trash cans in the whole apartment, around $100, the Wi-Fi router, $150, and a large metal shelving rack, probably the one that hurt the most, $150. The shelving rack was likely the most devastating loss for them, since they had tons of stuff. For reference, the kitchen had 10 cupboards and 8 drawers, of which I used 2 cupboards and 1 drawer to store my items. The cupboards I used were also the ones above the microwave and the fridge, since I am the tallest and I wanted to be considerate. All the rest of the cupboards, drawers, and the entire metal rack, which had 5 large shelves, were filled to the brim with my roommate's stuff. Essentially, there was absolutely no way they'd be able to fit in the amount of space I left behind without buying another rack or putting it on the counter and floor. I was careful to keep all their stuff from the rack organized and neat when I removed it, and everything from the rack completely covered the counters, kitchen table, and coffee table in the living room. I moved out peacefully with all my belongings the next day, and I have been happy in my new apartment with my fiancé. A few days after moving out, Vicky texted the group chat that, FYI, the Wi-Fi isn't working anymore. I wonder why. And at that point, I left the chat. I wondered how long it took Kara to realize that it actually was never me that was making messes in the apartment, but I guess I will never know. It's too bad that OP left the chat. I think it would be such a nice light reading. Ooh, and I can imagine the talk between Vicky and Kara, when Kara is like, OP moved out, but messes are still there. Kara, do you know who makes them? And Kara is like, you know what? I think OP comes back here at night and makes them. She breaks in, enters, and makes the mess. Not me. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel, because I really want to get to 200 subscribers as soon as possible. So if you subscribe, you will make my day. Can you do that someplace else? This will be a quick one, y'all. I'm a middle-aged cashier with hypoglycemia, among other hard-to-spell elements. Don't get me wrong, I'm no withering wife. We've all got problems. On this day, this problem became, well, a problem. Prickly nested in the Phoenix Desert lies your Arizona hometown grocer, Malicious. Since the pandemic, U-Scan has been all the rage, literally. Malicious insists that only one live, actual, scanning, thinking cashier is scheduled. That sexy beast is me. During 40 to 50% of my shift, I'm busy, non-stop scanning and bagging. Yes, we have no bananas and no beggars, to my heart's dismay. No problem, it's a job, cool beans. But when my second front-end guy, who runs the U-scan, leaves to the back for the last half of the shift, I'm caught between ringing up plus jumping over to an assortment of angry eyes waiting for me to scan their overrides. These overrides happen frequently. Anytime liquor is purchased, cough syrup, etc. It's all me. Things get busy. I get thirsty. I drink water. I feel a spell coming on even after water, so I know I need sugar and fast. So I bust open a Coke and guzzle it like it's my job. I must have looked like a commercial for the product. The second I hit that second ounce, I hear a nasal, "You're fucking disgusting! Do you have to do that here? Go do that someplace else!" Then she sputtered into a curse-laden tirade that I swear involved the word donut someplace. She also called me fat. Not cool, Brahim. I stopped, explained that I desperately need sugar for my blood sugar, while simultaneously opting to deliver some good old-fashioned malicious compliance. You know what? You're right. I shouldn't be drinking soda right here. Let me go someplace else. So I did. I walked, sobered if you will, right to the manager's office as I leave behind a parade of customers whose anger now transmogrified into one super being, a la Mighty Morphing Power Rangers, shifting it toward the cursor. I told my manager I need to sit down. I haven't had a break in 6 hours and need to refuel stat. They're out there waiting. Dan sat while he went to deal with the leftovers. I took a seat in the deli area, slowly sipping my soda and watching my manager try to deal with what I've been dealing with my whole life. Imagine a diapered version of myself. The main complainer wound up leaving, grocery-less and even angrier, flipping off no one in particular. Huzzah! I missed a lot in the moment, but evidently many of the customers were regulars and stood up for me in the best way by collectively telling her where she can go and what she can do when she gets there. Yes! This story made my day. Also, I really like the style of this story. I wish OP could take up on writing or stand-up comedy. I would read that or go to that show. Won't let me work? Okay. A few years ago, at my place of employment, they decided to bring in a new safety glasses policy. As I was a member of the safety committee, I was tasked with finding a company who could supply safety glasses that would fit our employees, and with a new criteria. It had to pass a pencil fit test. By this, I mean a regular pencil should not be able to pass around any part of the glasses to enter the eye area. A tight fit, as it were. I called around and found a company that was able to come out and provide us with a choice of 120 different models and styles to choose from. This would allow us to fit everyone, from fat to thin faces, tall, slim faces, hawk-shaped, big-nosed, you name it. We would be able to get them fit. I thought that I was in the bag, piece of cake, or any other platitude you can think of. I almost dislocated my arm patting myself on the back. Well, of course, management has to step in and say, this doesn't work for us. Their solution? Find a company that has only 6 different styles of glasses and make it work. As I wear prescription lenses, these new style glasses were not designed for this. They only have inserts, which are clipped on inside. Well, to make the glasses pencil fit, the frames are curved to fit your face. Hence, the insert is bent to fit the frame. Now just imagine taking your glasses and bending them to sit tight to your face. See how this distorts your vision? Now cue malicious compliance. I reported to my boss that I could not wear the new glasses as they distorted my vision and gave me headaches. Their solution was to have me try each model of glasses one at a time and get lenses made for them to see if I could find one that would work. Knowing that no matter what they did, wearing curved frames would not work, every time I got new lenses made, I made sure that they were high index, UV resistant, tinted, scratch resistant, and the best money could buy. I bought lenses for all 6 frame types at a cost of just over $7,000. At the end of this, I went to see my eye specialist and he wrote me a letter stating that I am not able to wear the new style glasses as they would damage my eyes. I took this letter into work and showed it to my boss. They didn't know what to do with me. I showed up for work every day, dressed and ready to work, but they never assigned me any work as it would be too dangerous, even though I had worn my old safety glasses for the last 25 years. Suddenly, it's too dangerous. So they had me just sitting in the lunchroom. I would play games on the computer. I was going to night school, so I completed a semester of school and basically just screwed around. One day I was playing video games and our number 2 big boss walked in and saw me. I said good morning with a big smile and a wave. He didn't. A couple of days later, our number 1 boss walked in while I was reading the newspaper and he asked me what I was doing and I said, reading the paper? He said, why? I said, they told me it's too dangerous for me out there. The next day I was back at work. 10.5 weeks I was off and suddenly the policy was changed. I wonder if they let OP keep the glasses so he could sell them. Cause 7K, good money. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed. You can also watch this awesome video or that awesome playlist. See you next time!